So,
get that.
so how can you know what you really want in your life? I mean,
Yeah, perfect question. Thank you for asking that. It's probably what everyone is asking themselves as well that are listening. So, the one thing that I've started to notice is that in the end, this question is like a very big question. So, what do you really
yes,
want? And
yes,
so everyone is asking himself herself this question, and it's really kind of difficult to answer this question. And so what I like to do is kind of start small. And
yeah,
so basically what
yeah,
that means is to know what you really want, you have to connect to this part of you that already knows. Like you have to connect to yourself, to your core, that inner voice that knows what you actually want. And to connect to that voice, you have to start to notice the impulses that are coming up in your life. And like it's better to start with small impulses, like when you are in the supermarket and you want to buy some food. What is the first intuition that's coming up? What do you actually want to eat right now? Or when you want to basically go for a stroll, you go for a walk, and then you can take a path to the left or to the right, just intuitively. What is it? What is the feeling? What is your impulse? Is that impulse going left or going right? And basically, when you're going about your life, you have to make small decisions. Listen inside of yourself. What's the first thought or feeling that's coming up? What is your impulse? And starting to get a little more in contact with the process that's happening there. And so one thing I want to add there is that when I'm talking about that, there's a lot of different layers to the whole thing. When you start to actually do that, it's quite crazy what's happening. But the one thing you have to really you have to pay close attention to is your inner voice. What you deeply want is usually either it's just a neutral like knowing. It's like, okay, I actually want to go this path, or I want
yeah,
to go that path, or I want to
yeah,
eat this, I want to eat that. It's just a quiet knowing,
yeah,
or it's a quiet knowing with some kind of like nice feeling to it, just warm, gentle, like good
yeah,
feeling to it.
yeah,
But there's no pushing feeling. There is no like I need that craving feeling, and there is no like bad feeling. Oh, I feel so bad about it. It's just either neutral or kind of just nice and soft in a way. And so
wonderful.
you have to feel inside of yourself, just see, okay, what is that impulse feeling like? Is this my actual truth that's just coming, this knowingness? Or is it some kind of like, oh, I need that because I have to prove to myself that I can, or I need that because I'm, hungry and, like whatever, like had a bad day, I want to eat this so I get some satisfaction or whatever. You have to really feel inside what is going on and just learn to relax into that process and really start to really notice what are those impulses. And from that, that's the first starting point. From that, you can start to go to the bigger things and start to understand actually the process is the same. You have to just
Yep,
listen inside of yourself
yep,
and see what is the real answer that's coming.
yep. I understand that. So it has to do like with really making sure. Okay, this is not something that will influence me in the future, like in a bad way. Maybe taking something like, oh yeah, you know what, I can reward myself with chocolate. It really feels good to me to reward myself with chocolate today. I earned it. But then also like making sure that you're not eating it and then feeling bad in the end, like kind of like feeling this warm feeling of intuition. That's kind of like what I get out to. Is that correct or not that much?
Um, it's important to see that when you're listening to that inner voice, it doesn't have any logic attached to it.
Okay.
That's the problem. That's kind of like the difficult part about it. It's like you're not thinking about why it is good to eat or not eat the chocolate, or why you should eat the sandwich, or why you should eat the salad or not. It doesn't have any logic attached to it, because as soon as logic is coming into play, it's your mind that is trying to figure the best way out. But
Yeah.
actually, this inner voice, you don't know how it's going to create the impulse that is you, that is really your inner voice. You don't know how it is going to happen, but you are going to feel that there is an inner voice, that there is an impulse that is true, that is who you really are. And that's really the key. You're starting to feel that there is this impulse, and you don't have to understand, but understand that there is like, you don't have to logically understand, but kind of start to realize that there is some kind of voice inside of you, some kind of you, like knowingness inside of you that just knows what is true for you, what is authentic.
Okay. 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 I feel my emotions, right? I feel my emotions,
Hmm.
and I can go to there. I feel also the intuition, right? But I also
Hmm.
like to merge them together with like my logical mind instead of like just acting out of it. Um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. It's basically like what you're saying is like, is it a good idea to just act out of your emotions and just kind of like not think about anything and just go kind of about those impulses? Is
Yeah,
that kind of what you're saying?
yeah, somewhat.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so basically, what I'm not saying that you have to just like it's basically there's a very important difference between acting out of your emotions or kind
Hmm.
of like just acting just out of some impulses and just be impulsive and stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
a very big like difference from that to actually being authentic, because
Hmm.
the difference between acting out of your emotions and being authentic is like when you're acting out of your emotions and those impulses that usually people are used to, you're actually acting out of some kind of um, logic in a way. Like you're basically acting out of like basically you're feeling bad, and because you're feeling bad, you do this or that action in order to not feel so bad or kind of act out this feeling of being bad, so that
Hmm.
that you feel that you're gonna feel better afterwards, something like that.
Hmm.
But this is still kind of like any all the stuff that you've kind of gathered inside of you, that is your logic combined with what what has happened to you in your life that created all the emotions that you're feeling. But it's not
Hmm.
actually this deeper impulse, and that's why I'm saying actually this intuition is neutral. It's like it's
Hmm.
knowingness. It's not this emotional impulse. It's not like I'm feeling bad so I eat this.
Hmm.
It's more kind of like, what is it that I want? What is it that I actually want? And so basically, it's not that you cannot think about things and make logical decisions. You can definitely do that for sure, and that might be the authentic thing to do for you in
Hmm.
that moment. But it's just more about starting a process of feeling inside of yourself and seeing, okay, there's emotions and thoughts, and there's something beyond that, and you
Hmm.
have to start to connect with the something beyond that. And that's usually a neutral thing. It feels neutral. It's
Ah,
just like a knowingness. It doesn't have
yeah,
anything to do with your emotion and thoughts. It's just
yeah,
like you basically you kind of connect to a new source of information, and you
yeah,
don't have to always act
yeah,
upon that source.
yeah.
Sometimes you have this knowingness, but you're like, fuck this knowingness, I don't care about that, I don't want to act like that, and you don't do it, and that's okay as well.
Yeah,
But it's just you realize there's some additional source of information, of knowingness, that you can connect to.
yeah,
That's the way to start to be more authentic and start to see what
yeah.
you actually want.
I understand what you mean. Can this knowingness also be wrong, or did you experience that this knowingness drove you into a path that wasn't really helpful to you? So kind of like seeing like, oh yeah, you know what? I shouldn't maybe take listen to the knowingness, but I should also sometimes take a step back and really make sure this is like really the truth, knowingness, truth, good.
Mm-hmm.
Not like knowing that you when you do that and everything, yeah, it will serve you, but then maybe really knowing it, and then something strange happens and you can't quite figure it out. Maybe did that happen to you, or were there some insights coming up? I wonder.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I mean, that's definitely. I mean, the one thing that I have to say to that is really, just because you have this knowingness doesn't mean that first of all you like it,
Yeah,
nor that you think it's the best thing to do,
yeah.
nor that you think it's the right thing to do. Whatever. It's really like it's really kind of confusing sometimes, because
Hmm.
you're like, well, what the heck? What should I do with this impulse now?
Hmm.
And I don't say that you have to always follow that impulse, but I'm saying rather that just take it in and experience it and see that there is some knowingness, and just start to take it into account. You
Yeah.
don't have to always act it out. But if for example, if you're working in a job and you always have this impulse, there's something not right. There's something not right about this job. There's just something not right. Then maybe you should start to listen to that impulse and see what does it actually want to tell you.
Yeah.
And
Agree.
like it's more about those kind of things. And when you're
Yeah.
like when you're doing a project and there's just something not really right about that project, and start to listen to that impulse and see what does it want to tell me. It's more about that. And like when you're always going to the supermarket and you buy this one food, and there's something about this food and you're not really don't know, like it doesn't not feel right. Or you always have like you're going to the supermarket 10 times, you just feel like eating this or that ice cream or this or that product that you would logically think it doesn't make any sense. If you have the 10th time you have the same impulse, why don't you just try it out? Maybe it helps you. Maybe that's just one nutrient that you needed, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's all those impulses where you don't necessarily logically understand them, but if they're coming up and you start to listen to them,
Yeah.
it might be a new source of information that could be important for you,
Yeah.
that could help you.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Cool.
And then one thing I wanted to add as well is when you are talking with people, because that's where the authenticity really comes in. When you're talking with people, you also might have those impulses. Like, I would like to say that, but then you start to logically think like, oh, it's not a good idea to say that. Why should I say that? That's a really bad idea. Or you're like, or I should say that, but you don't feel like saying it. And it's basically the same process. You have those impulses, and sometimes you just feel like it would be authentic, would be true to say this impulse what you had. It would be true to say this, but you don't, because you think like logically it doesn't make sense, or you're afraid or whatever. And
Yeah.
also there, just start to feel, what does it tell me? Maybe it's like, I actually want to connect with this person more on a real level, and that's what I really think about it. I wanted to tell it, but I'm not doing it. So that's the impulse saying like, I want to be true, I want to say that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same process in conversation.